Does say how much mortgage is affordable? Is that the right one? I think so. Oh, thank God. Except that I'm not on the right page on here. Welcome, welcome. Page 6. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so when we start talking about how much mortgage is affordable, and you could look things up and find other percentages, but basically that there's only a certain ratio that should be spent on housing expenses. And sometimes housing expenses you could also think of as including utilities, which would put a whole bunch of other things in there. But that take 36% of the gross income, so before taxes, take away things like property tax and homeowners insurance, also take away monthly loan payments. Okay, so it's not just 6% of the gross monthly income is available for this, but also, so like if you had student loans, if you had a car loan, all these credit card debt that you have to pay back. And so when a bank is looking at your income and deciding if it, if it looks like you can afford this, they're using some version of this. So we're going to look here at Brian and his wife and think about what they can actually afford. Brian and Julie. And so here we're going to find out what the monthly mortgage payment. So the $65,000 is per year. So you can divide it by 12 first, or you can multiply it by the 36% first, but both those things need to happen. So 65,000 divided by 12 and times 0.36. Okay, so we can just say 1950, fair enough. So 1950, and then we also says the property taxes will be 1,200 and the insurance about 900. So I'm going to add those two together. 1,200 plus 900 is 2,100, but we're working monthly. So I'm going to divide that by 12. So that's $175 a month that is being spent on those other housing expenses for taxes and insurance. And then they also have $700 a month coming out for student loans and a $200 for the car payment. Yep. So 200 plus 700. So take away 900 for that. So then what we come up with is that they can afford a mortgage payment with it so that they're not too far stretched. They can afford a mortgage payment of $875.
Sorry, 700 plus 300 plus 175. Not the real way. Correct.
So the 175, I just put in the middle category. When you look up there at the top, when it says monthly housing expenses. Yeah, so either way, you could add it onto the 900 and then just subtract 1075. I mean, we still get 875. So that's what they can afford for mortgage. So if we look back, and I don't know if we did this page, I did, but I don't know that we did. So if we look back to see, could they afford the payment for the 15-year mortgage? The 15-year mortgage on the other page was $893.60. So I would say no.
You're gonna do 1915 minus 175 minus 900, and then if that's less or more than.
So 875 is not enough to pay what came up on the other side. If Brian chose the 15-year mortgage, it was $893.60. So if they can't afford that, then we would want to see what could they afford. And this is another Excel formula. It's called present value. So if they choose the 30-year mortgage, they are well within their means, but they're thinking like, do I want to do this for 30 years? Or maybe I want to get something bigger and put it on 30 years. So if we want to know if they can afford it, like then what we're going to do is present value. So then on the next page, using that 875, and notice it says 875 here, so we know we did that right. This time we're doing PV, so always equal, and then PV for present value. And then notice it's still the percentage rate divided by 12, comma, then the part in the middle is the total number of payments. And you could go ahead and put 360 there, or you can do 30 times 12. And then the amount of the payment, that's our negative 875. That's where we're putting what is affordable for them. And you can grab a Chromebook and use Excel, or if you turn on the next page, you can find the right one down there at the bottom. And then, well, actually it tells us here, that would be $177,867.26. Now that's if they put it on 30 years. So then let's see how much could they afford if they put it on 15 years. So that's if they do 30 years. If instead they put it on 15 years, so we're going to basically write the same kind of formula. So equal present value. The 15-year, they get 3.5%. So change that to a decimal, 0.035 divided by 12. So that's our monthly interest rate. Now, what would be in the middle? How many payments?
12, 15.
15 times 12. Or you could put 180, because this is a 15-year, not 30-year. And then still, what they can afford is still the 875. Which comes out to be that they can, if they want to be able to do it in 15 years, they can only afford $122,397.73. Basically about 122.4. We'll go ahead and leave all our details there though. So then how much would they be paying in interest for this mortgage? So this is how much they could afford to borrow. If they take out this mortgage, how much would they be paying in interest? How could we figure that out?
122,397.73 times 0.35 divided by.
That won't give us the interest for the whole time. How did we figure that out before? How did we figure out how much how much of the monthly, how much of all their payments went to interest? How about if we take the total of the payments and subtract the principal, subtract how much they borrow? Because we can't just find the percent because it's constantly changing, right? Because we keep paying. But we can find the total amount that they would pay back, right? They would pay 180 payments. That's 15 times 12. How much are they paying each time? $875. Good. That would be the total of their payments. And then we're going to subtract the 122, 397, 397.73. Because that's how much they would borrow if they maxed out that. So how much did you get for their total payments? I came up with 157,500. So that's their total payments. If I take out the amount that they borrow, the mortgage amount, the 122,000, something. We find out that they would pay $35,102. You got it. So now figure out how much would they pay in interest for the 30-year mortgage. So same kind of strategy, different borrowed amount, and different, the payment amount's the same, but the number of payments, twice as many payments because they're doing it for 30 years. So how much interest are they paying with the 30-year mortgage? Knowing that they also borrowed more.
$37,000, 132.24.
Yes, 137,132.74. Now, they're spending 55,000 more on a house. Over the course of time, they're spending twice as much, though, to get that $55,000 more because of the interest and it being spread over time. Okay, so Brian's best friend Cliff is also house hunting. Currently, he's paying $935 in rent, and he would rather spend this amount on a mortgage payment. So they're basically telling us that the $935 is his affordable payment because he's already making that payment. Now, we're not given other information about what Cliff could do. So we're going to assume that that is his. So we're going to use present value, assume that that would be his payment. But then if Cliff went shopping, I went ahead and multiplied 30 times 12, by the way. If Cliff went shopping, however much this says he can afford, if he's shopping, he needs to probably drop down a bit, because if he is has a mortgage payment, he's also gonna have insurance and taxes. Now, maybe Cliff already has rental insurance, which would be some, but not as much. And of course, he's not paying property taxes when he's renting. So depending on how much that is, that would reduce the amount available for the mortgage considerably. But given what we have there, looks like $190,063.87. I just took that from the table on the other side.
Can you calculate the present value with a calculator right there? No.
Yep, you'd have to use the spreadsheet, yeah.
What's it, the number was 169?
If you turn the page and then that, yeah. So there was only one of them that has negative 935. So it's $190,063.87. So you could do other things like if you said like, hey, I can only afford this much to be my car payment, and this is what the loan's gonna be for 6 years. In this case, 72 months would be 6 years. So she wants to figure out how much could the car loan be that her payment's not gonna be over $300. And we could use present value there again. So after you have that figured out, go ahead and look on the next page about the mortgages, and there's a bunch of present value questions. So you could get an idea of how different interest rates, if you can afford the same payment, she's looking at the same house, same payment, all the things, everything's equal except different banks and what their options are. And then you can see like, oh, what does this allow her to do? Like, which one is going to be the better option for her? So which one could she accept and still be able to purchase her dream home? So there may be more than one option that would work for her. I need to go make a copy for you guys. Reading Jonathan. There be. There we go. Oh, Christ. So for all of these in number one there, you should have used present value. So for this first one, with her affordable payment, she would only be able to borrow $84,854.64. The second one, her mortgage could be $100,669.43. And then C could have been 506.46. And you could get those numbers on Excel or in the spreadsheet, but I just got them from the table at the bottom of the page after I set up my present value formula. So which offers could she accept and still be able to purchase her dream home? Can she purchase her dream home with A? Her dream home is $98,500. And she has $5,000 saved. She needs to borrow $93,500. Bank A on the 15-year loan, to have a $650 payment, the most she could borrow is $84,000. So she can't do this one. Why can't she do B or C?
Offers her
Right, so this is, they are willing.
to give. Okay, so
Right.
she can afford B and C.
So these two, she can afford to borrow, bless you, up to this amount
Okay.
and still be able to make the payment. That would make her payment exactly $650. This would make her payment exactly $650. She only needs to borrow $93,500. So either of these, she could accept the offer and purchase her dream home. Now, it does not mean that she needs to borrow this amount.
Right.
She could just
They can
borrow.
give her up to her.
Yes, she's been approved for that much. She could just borrow $93,500. So if you were her, which one do you think she should do? The B, right? This is within this amount and it is a lower interest rate for a shorter period of time. So she's gonna pay much less interest if she does B. Now, if she needed to borrow $115,000 for her dream home, she would have no choice but to do C because it's the only one that would allow her to borrow that much. So let's take a look at Donna. If Donna's bank requires her to have 15% down, what is her down payment? 21,000, yes. So 15% of this amount would be 21,000. So then how much would she need to borrow? Good. We'll just take that 140,000 minus the 21,000 would be 119,000. And then to find her monthly payment, so we're finding the payment, so we use the payment function. The interest rate divided by 12 times the monthly, how many months does she pay it? Well, 20 times 12, or you could just type in 240. They do 20 times 12 in the little example down there. And then she's borrowing 119,000. If you're putting that in Excel, be sure that you don't put the comma in because that jacks things up as we learned, because it's expecting it to be another option there. Like, don't put our readability comma, how we normally would. Yeah, you don't want to put that because then it thinks that you're only borrowing $119 and that the zeros are something else. And so what does that turn our payment then to be? $769.01. And again, we can't do that on the calculator. We would either need a Chromebook or we would use the chart. And then how much would she pay over the 20-year loan? So the 769.01 times 20 times 12, 240, or you could do times 20 times 12, right? I mean, and again, tell me, what did you come up with there?
184, 562. Or
So how much would she pay in interest?
5,500.
How did you get that?
184, 560, minus 190.
Right, so if we want to know how much interest over the course of the loan, we're gonna take the total amount of the payments and subtract what we actually borrowed. Okay, so you now have what you need, because now we've talked about present value, to finish the last part of section 11's work. And then we're going to look at section 12. Section 12 is retirement and savings plans. So I'm going to give you about 12 minutes. And at 11:20, I'm going to start talking about section 12.